Hey everyone, welcome to the Adequate Rejects. I'm Ben, and this is my top 10 movies list. We wanted to do this to just kind of establish our favorite movies, obviously, and just kind of give you a taste of what we like and what our personal tastes are. So, this is my opinion. This is not a definitive list. These are my favorite movies. This is not the best of all time list. No Shawshank on here. That's depressing. But it's a great movie. It's one of the best, but it's not going to be on this list. So, without further ado, this is my top 10 list. Okay, first off, I'm going to do my honorable mentions. These are the movies that almost made my cut, but for my top 10 list, I kind of wanted to do a pretty good variation of genres of films, so either these didn't make the cut because I like something in the genre that's more than this one, or just a really tough list for me to choose 10. So, my first honorable mention is Jaws. What can be said about Jaws? It pretty much created the summer blockbuster, and it's also one of the best creature flicks of all time. Just the way the shark is revealed and everything, and lots of movies have taken inspiration from this film, and I'm assuming you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, go see it. One of the all-time greats. Another honorable mention is Apocalypse Now. This is actually my favorite war film, if you can call it a war film, due to the fact that just how different it is from all the other war films. Instead of focusing on the war per se, focuses on this man's just internal struggle with his mission he's trying to complete, and it's extremely trippy. It's visually stunning. It's honestly probably my favorite opening shot of all time, the napalm and everything, and play to the doors. But again, my opinion, this is Coppola's best work. Most people would say The Godfather, but I find this to be his best work. And if you know anything about the story behind making of this film, it's quite amazing. So again, if you haven't seen this, also go check it out. And for my last honorable mention, it is other than Ron Howard's Cinderella Man. This is a very personal one. The reason I like this movie so much is just the amazing true story behind Jimmy Braddock's character, Russell Crowe's character. Just the story of his life is just one of the most amazing sports stories I've ever heard, and I really like feel-good movies, and this, in my opinion, is one of the best feel-good movies. It always makes me feel good, and just from the first to the last shot, it's just an amazing experience, in my opinion, and it honestly gets me teared up every time I watch it. I usually don't tear up in movies, but this makes me do it, so go see Cinderella Man. It's a great movie. I think it's very overlooked. Okay, for my number 10, as I said earlier, I wanted to get a pretty good variation of genres and films, and this is an animated film. This is my all-time animated film, and it is The Iron Giant. Wow, this movie is so spectacular. The animation, the story, just the general premise behind it. It's a throwback to old 1950 monster movies, but flips it on its head and makes the monster like lovable and kind and everything. And he befriends this kid, and it's just one of those amazing films where like both kids can love it for the visual spectacle and the humor, but also adults can love it too for the story and the meaning behind it. And it's just this perfect blend of those two, and you just got this amazing animated film that is, in my opinion, the best of all time. Go see it if you haven't seen it yet. For my number 9, this is my all-time favorite horror movie, The Thing. Well, one of the reasons I love The Thing so much is how it perfectly encapsulates paranoia. Like, the whole movie, it's paranoia the movie. Like, everyone is always looking over their backs the entire movie, not knowing who is the monster, because the monster in the film copies the appearance of a person that it kills. And the whole movie, they're like it's almost kind of like a whodunit, just in a monster scenario, and just people are getting picked off one by one, and it's terrifying. And this also holds the crown for my favorite special effects in any movie. What they did with the special effects in this movie is just mind-blowing. It's, in my opinion, better than all the CGI stuff that comes out nowadays, because it is all practical and it's all real. It's there on the camera, and you get horrified by what this thing does, what the monster does. And it's just, it does things so well, and that's why it's my favorite horror movie and my number 9. For my number 8 film, it's one of my all-time favorite science fiction movies, and also one of my all-time favorite action movies, and that's none other than The Matrix. I grew up on this movie, and from my first viewing of it, I immediately loved it for all the themes it conveys, and just the action is mind-blowing, the special effects were mind-blowing. It did a lot for the movie industry, and I love it so much. The story of Neo is pretty cool, and how it starts off with this pretty normal, but it just kind of like, it's kind of like a scientific retelling of Alice in the Wonderland. It kind of gives that tone in the movie. They kind of give that line in the movie, but it's really cool how you see Neo, Keanu Reeves, just kind of tumble down the rabbit hole, for instance, into the world of the Matrix, and him realizing what this world is. And I just really love it for the action, everything it has in it. I'm assuming you've seen it. It's a very popular movie, but go see it if you haven't. For my number 7, it might be an unconventional film for people, but it's my list. So my number 7 is Godzilla, the King of Monsters. The reason I love this film so much is what it did for the industry, and kind of created the slew of monster movies that came out in the 50s and 60s. To me, this is the monster movie, but the reason I think it stands out above the rest is most people think that Godzilla is a very cheesy movie, but they usually think of the sequels that came after the first one. The first one is actually a very, very dark and serious movie. Yes, there's a giant monster in it, but that's not really the point of the movie. The point of the movie is it's very much a commentary on nuclear war and the effects of just bomb testing and everything. It's excellently done, and I love it for that. And I kind of put it on this list because of my love for the other Godzilla films too. As you can see, I got about over half of the Godzilla films, not including the American one. The American one's back in my room, which that's not a Godzilla film. But all the way from Raids to Final Wars, I love this series so much, even like the new one. I'm a huge fan of Godzilla, and I'll pretty much watch anything that has its name on it. They're extremely fun movies, and I love them for that. I grew up on them, and they're fun times, so. Okay, number 6 goes to my all-time favorite crime movie. It's none other than Heat. Whoop, whoop. I love Heat so much because you got the two greatest, pretty much debatable, but the two greatest crime actors in the industry, Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, both known from Taxi Driver and The Godfather. But what I love about it is it both brings them into this one movie, and it just creates this just tension-fueled action fest in the middle, at least, to where you're just on the edge of your seat the whole time to see who's going to come out on top. And it's a cops and robbers movie, and the best in my opinion. I was thinking of putting The Godfather on this list, but the reason I didn't is The Godfather doesn't have a badass shootout in the middle of it. Heat has the, in my opinion, the all-time greatest shootout ever. Just that whole middle segment on the streets is just so expertly crafted, and Michael Mann's direction of the film is just astounding. Every character is layered, and it's odd how it plays out, where the criminal is actually the really happy one, and Al Pacino's character is the cop. He's actually really unhappy with his life, and it's just kind of how to see these two storylines play out is just really awesome, and just the final confrontation is a sight to behold. So go see Heat. Okay, number 4, we're getting there. Number 4 is my second favorite sci-fi film of all time. Number 1 is coming up, but it's none other than Aliens. I had a personal debate whether to put the first Alien, Ridley Scott's, or James Cameron's Aliens on this list, but I had to give the edge out to Aliens because I find Aliens to be more influential, at least in my life, because this movie influenced so many video games. Oh my goodness. If you just play the first Halo, it screams Aliens. And the reason I love this movie so much is instead of rehashing the first one, it just takes the first one's idea and throws action in the mix, and you got this amazing spectacle. And just like, not very often do you get female, not superheroes, but female action stars. And Sigourney Weaver in this movie is just one of the best in my opinion. She is an action star, and she is awesome in this movie. From the first confrontation with the aliens, it's just a sight to behold. And next to The Thing, this is my favorite special effects in any movie, especially the final confrontation with the mother alien. And it's one of the most quotable movies in my opinion, just from Hudson to just Sigourney Weaver's lines. It's just an awesome movie. I adore this movie. Oh my gosh, I'm gushing over this movie. Go see it. It's so influential and just an awesome action fest. Okay, so that last one was actually my number 5, but this is my actual number 4. And you might consider me like, oh, Ben, that's cheating, but in my opinion, it's not. The Lord of the Rings, all of them. I can't really watch one of them without watching the others. Like, I can't sit down like, oh, I feel like watching Return of the King today, I'm gonna watch Return of the King. No, you gotta watch them in order, and you gotta watch them as one whole film, in my opinion, because you can't have one without the other. What can be said about these movies? To me, they are the epics of this generation. They're masterpieces. They took the books and perfectly put them on film, from the ideas to the characters to the spectacle to the special effects. Everything about these movies, it's just masterfully done. From the first opening moments, the montage of what happens before in the War of the Ring, to the final moments of Frodo and Gandalf sailing away, this movie, in my opinion, has next to no flaws. The performances are all great. Every person in this movie, even Elijah Wood, come on people, gives a great performance. Especially shout out to Andy Serkis, who is the father of motion cap, and his Gollum or Smeagol performance in this movie is, in my opinion, one of the best of all time. You can't, it really put motion capture on the market, and it's just, what else can you say about these films? They're so great, so go see them if you haven't. For my number 3 film, it's my all-time favorite Western, and it's none other than The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. From start to finish, I just adore this movie. Just from the direction to just the score of it, it's so well done. It's masterful. From the characters in the movie are some of my all-time favorites. Clint Eastwood's Blondie is one of the coolest people put on screen. To Tuco. Tuco is, he's one of my all-time favorite characters in any movie ever. Every time he's on screen, he's an attention grabber. He steals the scenes in this film. It's one of those characters you love to hate him, and he's just like, every time he's on screen, I just love everything that comes out of his mouth. He's just a smug bastard, and he's so great. And Lee Van Sheef's character is just this deplorable, just bad guy, and you really hate him. He's the bad. And then the final confrontation in this film is my all-time favorite scene in any movie ever. The direction of the film, from Sergio Leone's masterful direction to Ennio Morricone's just score that just escalates and escalates and escalates to the final shot. It's just, oh, I'm gushing over this movie. I love this movie so much. Go and see it if you haven't. For my second favorite film of all time, number 2, I'm going to have my friend Preston come in and help me out with this one, because we both love this movie. But it is none other than Seven Samurai. Whew. Seven Samurai. What do you want to say about it, buddy?
Alright, man. Okay, Seven Samurai, it really is one of the greatest movies of all time. In fact, I think it's one of the 10 best films ever made.
I totally agree.
Because, well, the thing about Seven Samurai is that here you have a man named Akira Kurosawa who grew up loving American Westerns, and it's an interesting story the way the movie was made and the way it comes out because when you watch it, because here you have this Japanese auteur who his love of the American John Wayne style Western is so apparent because what he did was he made a Western about these 7 awesome samurai, I mean, of course, and he took everything that was great about the Western and set it in the Japanese, that Japanese samurai period, and he made a movie that nails the mortality of that genre and nails all the camaraderie that Westerns have and the masculinity of them, and he made a really great samurai film out of it.
Yeah, to me, this is the dawn of the action movie, in my opinion. When you say, like,
agreed? No,
like this is the foundation of the action movies they have nowadays, and just for black and white film that was made in 1954, the action holds up.
Yes,
like,
it does.
The action is awesome in it, and
the thing about the action is that Kurosawa really nails the fluidity of samurai fighting and fencing, and even though it's a black and white movie, the action is a lot better than most action movies today.
Oh, definitely. You can actually see what's going on, and
right.
And the stakes that are in the film. It's a 3.5-hour movie, and it's an epic. And over the film, for the first half of the film, you grow to start to love these characters, and that's what elevates the action, in my opinion, because you really love these characters and you don't want to see anything happen to them, and it just explodes, and just that last hour is just,
which is where the Western element I think really comes to play, is because everybody in the movie, every character that you fall in love with is fair game, and
yeah, definitely,
and I love that about this movie.
And it also has one of my Tuco, one of my all-time favorite characters, and it's Kikuchio.
Yeah.
Kikuchio is also a smug bastard. I think I really like smug bastards, I guess. From Doc Holliday in Tombstone to Kikuchio in this movie. I love characters like that. And every time he's on screen, he steals the show, in my opinion. He's just so energetic and so out there, and he's just so awesome. Next to my number 1, this is my favorite film of all time. I love this movie. Ooh, if you haven't seen it, give yourself the pleasure of watching it. Okay, as you can tell, my favorite film of all time is Star Trek. No, I'm just kidding. Star Wars, what could be said about Star Wars? Nothing. And to prove how much of a fan I am, I actually like the prequels and actually on the holiday special. What the hell? From Raids Again to all the way to Final Wars, the last one.
Final Wars is amazing.